Hi there, and welcome to this episode of Talking with Jonny. I'm your host, Jonny. I know I missed last week, and I'm going to apologize about that off the bat. Long story short, the views on my channel, while I initially did this, they kind of, and we're thinking one of the reasons is because, we started out real quick by doing both a car reviews and by doing this Talking with Jonny thing, and it's just confusing the algorithm. We also monetized early, and I think that took a big, killed the traffic because then Google doesn't want to pay. And then also long story short, I can go into conspiracy theories about why views are down. Could be the quality. We're starting. So there's the Driving with Jonny YouTube channel. We're gonna start a actual separate Talking with Jonny YouTube channel, and you see this a lot with people that'll have more than one channel. We're going to do that here. Thought I could get it going last week. Then I had to run to Italy. I'm going to get into that in a second. I really apologize. I shouldn't have missed last week. Probably just did nothing but hurt myself. And I know a couple of you reached out and said, hey, where's the show? And I appreciate that. It means that, we've created something kind of fun here. Screwed up. What was I doing in Italy? Well, getting there was half the battle. It was insane. I was supposed to fly from here to where's I supposed to go to? I don't remember now. Let's see. I think I was going to LA, Atlanta, Munich. Easy peasy, right? And then we drive from Munich to Italy. It's like a nice 3.5 hour drive, no problem. And then I woke up to, hey, your flight to Atlanta is delayed, and I said, no problem. Because I had a nice big layover in Atlanta. It still would have happened. I was carrying on. I wasn't checking bags. Could have made it. And then by the time I got to the airport, it was like, your flight is way delayed. You're never going to make your Munich flight. So then we tried to rebook, and it was, well, I should say Delta automatically rebooked it. But what they did was they did LA, Seattle, Amsterdam, Munich, and there's only 50 minutes between in Amsterdam to get to the Munich flight. If you've ever been to Amsterdam, first world problems. It's just impossible. They have one of the slowest passport controls in the world. Well, in Europe, let's say. I've been a couple other places where they're much slower, but it's wild, and there's just zero chance. Because normally you have to do about 20 minutes of walking to get from one terminal to the other, because you never ever obviously land at the same terminal, and then it's at least 30 minutes to get through passport control, and I just wouldn't have made that flight. So then we rebooked another flight that was LA Houston Munich, and then it was a KLM flight from Houston to Munich, or Houston, maybe that was Houston to Amsterdam, whatever. As I was on the phone booking the flight, they canceled the KLM flight to Europe. So then it was what are we going to do? And what wound up happening was I went back to the original rebooking, which was LA, Seattle, Amsterdam. But I said, I don't need to be on that flight as long as I get to Munich at some point. So instead of landing at Munich, in Munich around 8:30 in the morning, I just had a big layover in Amsterdam. And I got there at 3 or so. Which meant that my poor friend Mark, who works for Audi, he's the head of communications for Audi, had to wait because he got to Munich at 7:30 a.m. So he had to wait for me because we were driving. So the whole thing. Now, could I have made that flight, the initial flight? And the answer is absolutely not, because again, it took me 20 minutes. Actually, it was 20. I timed it all out. So yeah, let's say it was 25 minutes to walk from the gate I landed at to the gate I was taking off at. And it was 35 minutes in passport control. So there's just no way I could have made it. So I got to spend an extra 2.5 hours at the beautiful Amsterdam airport. I don't remember what I did. Anyhow, made it. And I got to drive the Audi Concept C, which was totally not what I thought it was going to be. First of all, I was shocked when it was a last minute trip, but I was shocked when I got asked because I assumed it was just a non-working show car. Turned out it's very much working. In fact, turns out it drove great. Now, my hunch is, and they wouldn't tell us anything, they took a Audi RS e-tron GT, made a sports car chassis frame out of it, put the batteries, took half the pack, mixed it up, put it behind the driver, and then just use the rear motor, because I noticed it's on the same size wheels and tires as the RS e-tron GT, which is kind of suspicious, but why would you put it on such big wheels? Um, I know they like to put show cars on big wheels, but yeah, they were like 265, 30, RZ 21s up front, and then 305 30 RZ 21s out back. But they did let slip that the motor had a single motor, makes over 500 horsepower. In my head, going into it, I really thought it was just an Audi TT replacement. And it is from a design point of view, both inside and out, and the interior is actually extra special. It's really good, but it's actually closer performance wise to an R8 replacement. And when I say closer to, it's like, I mean, again, this is just a rear drive one. It's going to be as quick and handle as well as any R8. Maybe not any. Like, okay, so this is over 500 horsepower. When the R8 went out of production, I think it was like 610 horsepower, maybe something like that. I should have checked. It's not quite there, but again, this is just a one motor. If they would have put a second motor on the front, performance would have been there. The steering was absolutely fantastic. Very much like an RS e-tron GT. Just has nothing to do with traditional Audi handling, which I'm just not a massive fan of, because again, we've gone over this, they always put the motor, the engine in front of the front axle. They're very nose heavy, and up to about 8/10 they're great, and then they start to plow and push. This doesn't do that. And I was shocked that it was funny, and I put this in the article I wrote for Motor Trend, but they kept saying, like, you are not here to test the dynamic limits of the car. And that, I interpreted that as like, the thing can't have dynamics and it can't have limits, and don't push it, it'll fall apart. Opposite was true. It was a fully functioning sports car, supercar, whatever you want to call it. It was incredible, and the design language was super cool, and looks great in person. And coming in 2027, 2028, I don't know what it's going to be called. Hopefully they leave an option to have a rear driver. I think that's important. Also, just so you know, this is very closely related to the upcoming Porsche Boxster EV. Both are convertibles, both are relatively light. I think they're saying it's going to be like under 4,000 pounds. I don't know how they're saying that. I kept asking about weight on the launch. They didn't say that, but I went back and was looking at some stuff, and I think they're saying it's going to weigh about as much as like an M3 competition, which is crazy. But yeah, it's going to be very light, very fun to drive, very electric. I thought it was cool. I thought having like relative silence with the top down on a mountain road in beautiful Austria was pretty cool. I was in the part of Italy that looks like Austria. I was in Brixen, and it was a great driving experience. So hats off to Audi for not only inviting me as the only American to drive it, which I thought was very cool, but for making such a good car. Even cooler, they brought along an actual Typ C. Now, it was a replica built in 1998, but it was an exact, hammer strike by bolt twist replica of a 1936 Auto Union Typ C. What the hell is that? Okay. In 1933, when the Nazis came to power, car-wise, the regime decided to do two things. One was make a people's car, a Volkswagen. We know that story. The other story was they wanted to just dominate racing, and they actually funded. They gave a lot of money to Mercedes, because at the time Mercedes was making these Silver Arrow cars, these Grand Prix cars, and they gave them a lot of money to make sure they were dominant and they beat all the other countries. Meanwhile, though, the board at or the leadership at Auto Union said, "Hey, competition is what you need within Germany," and so they actually got the Nazis to kick some cash at them. Smart business move. So remember, Auto Union at the time was Audi, DKW, Horsch, and Wanderer. And they took the money and they actually bought a Dr. Porsche design. He had another company. It wasn't called Porsche, but it was a racing company. they bought a design that became the Type A, and again, people are like, oh, it was Nazi funded. It's a horrible, sad history. But remember, there was a guy named Rosenberg who was, on the board of, I think he was on the board of both of Porsche's companies, the original Porsche and the racing concern, Jewish guy. And I think he was also involved with Auto Union, and he was like, yeah, approach them and get the money. Not that the Nazis were ever good, but nobody knew how bad they were. And it was like, hey, the government's handing out cash to go racing. Let's take it. Anyhow, 1936, they built this incredible machine. You want to say mid-engine, but really it's kind of like mid-rear engine because the engine's so massive it takes up the whole rear of the thing. And it was a 6-liter supercharged V16. And actually it went like driver, gas tank in the middle, and then massive engine. And why'd they put the gas tank in the middle? And that was hugely innovative, actually. And the idea there was, as the amount of fuel went down, in other words, as the weight decreased, you wouldn't have it on one end of the vehicle, which would change handling. It would go down in the middle. You know who employed this same technique in a production car in 1991? Acura with the NSX. They did the same thing. The fuel tank was in the middle, between the driver and the engine. And race cars have done that for a long time, but it's cool to see it make its way to a production car. And I think the Type C was the first race car to do that. Anyways, absolutely beautiful in every way. And I kept just standing outside in front of the hotel staring at this insane replica, but really good replica of an old Silver Arrow race car. So that was super cool. What else is going on? Driving an Audi RS e-tron GT this week. I had that booked before this trip, but shooting a video with it in 2 days. That is just my favorite Audi. I love that thing. It is so good. Did I have a lot of beers with Dolner, the CEO of Audi, and say, dude, make it a wagon? Of course I did. Is he going to? Of course he's not. But I did, just, for you long groove fans out there, I did do that. Did happen. What else is going on? Watches. Back to the Seiko Emperor Tuna. Love this watch. Gigantic, 52 point something millimeter, crazy dive watch that is rated down to 1,000 meters. But they actually took one, strapped it onto a deep sea submarine, and dropped it down. They took an automatic, and they took a quartz one, and they dropped them down. And the quartz one imploded at like 3,800 meters, something like that. And this one stopped ticking. It didn't really implode, but just the second hand stopped it was over 4,000 meters, which again is 12,000 feet down. So if you're free diving down to 3,500, and you might laugh at me and say, John, you can't free dive that deep. I watched the Meg 2 on the airplane, and you can totally do that. In fact, they were like 25,000 feet below, I believe, and they're just walking around on the bottom of the ocean floor. So you can totally do that. Watch wouldn't make it. Humans could make it. Anyways, Meg 2 is the most horrifically stupid film I've ever seen. It's so dumb. Just everything is an insult to thinking person's intelligence. Intelligence. I can't even say the word. I'm shocked at how lousy that was. And I do like to watch like mindless action movies on airplanes, because if I fall asleep, who cares? This one, sadly, I stayed awake the whole time, just sort of like, and it's a movie about like illegal mining on the bottom of the Marianas Trench or something stupid. Happens to be some sharks. They're sort of an afterthought. Shockingly, horribly stupid film. All right, with that, we're going to jump into some Q&A. Remember, this is a Q&A show. You ask me questions, and I answer them. So let's see. Favorite part of my week? Inside Johnny's brain for an hour. Love these. Matt, you got to get a better hobby. Okay. This show is a breath of fresh air. I'm stacking the good ones up top. Literally and figuratively. Love the straightforward direct takes. A channel for car nerds. Sup, nerds. Separation of cars and watches. Yeah. Congrats on the Road Rat. Yeah. I wrote an article for the Road Rat. I don't know if any of you subscribe. If you don't, you should. It's a really good car magazine, and I wrote a very well-received article about the rising popularity of F1 in the United States of America. So, all right. This is from Mike Miller. Saw you judging at Audrain. Agree that's the fresh new Pebble. I don't know if I said that, but it's like a great car show. The Gathering, which was like the Quail, was the pick of the week. That was quite cool. Problem with The Gathering for me was I performed at it. We did a Spike's Car Radio with me, Spike, and Mr. Leno. And I should have walked the show more before we started performing, because once we were done, there was just a lot of people coming up and saying things, which is great. However, I didn't get to like really look at the cars, and I also had a gaggle of friends there, and it's hard when you're walking around with friends to like stop and actually take pictures of cars. There was some really cool stuff. I missed almost all of it, so totally sucks. All right, this is from 10 Choo Choo. Hi, Johnny. Totally agree with your take on EVs. Are perfect for a normal person just looking for a commuter. That's not my take, but they are good for that. Used EVs can be found for some amazing deals. Would you have any worry with one of these being out of warranty? Yeah. I mean, depends on how much you pay. I wouldn't worry about what the internet worries about. The battery, you know, should be just fine. And again, I should just print these studies out and staple them to me so I can just pull them off and show you. But, they did a study of Tesla Model S's that have been on the road for a decade. So in other words, not only they're 10 years old, their battery tech was 10 years old. And they found that on average, I believe they had, I know it was over 90% of the battery capacity they had when new. Now, what's bad for batteries? Charging them to 100% is very bad for your phone. That's why your phone degrades over time. It's very bad for your car. It's very bad for your laptop. Lithium-ion batteries hate being at a 100% state of charge. It fucks them up. Just like they hate being uncharged. Being at zero is also bad. So, hopefully, most people who have EVs, they never charge them past like 80, 85%. On the rare occasion, you can go up to 100. Even that though, why bother? Just get up to like 95%. It's just not good for them. So, if you don't charge to 100%, your battery should just last as long as the car is going to last. How long do cars last, So, again, if you're paying like a lot of money for something and it's out of warranty, yeah, I would worry about any car. But again, with EVs, there's just less to go wrong. There just aren't moving parts, there aren't. So anyways, I wouldn't worry about that. And especially if you get a really good deal, I wouldn't worry about it. Your top 3 driving roads in Europe and why? That's from Velocity. I mean, top 3. I couldn't even come up with top 3 driving countries, let alone roads. Ones that jump to mind. There's this one road in Spain. It's near Andorra. Jethro and I found it on accident driving around. If you go back and watch our head-to-head episode, we had the M2 competition and the Alpine A110. We found this road. It was just delightful. It was like in Spanish speed country up in the Pyrenees somewhere. Pooh, that road was just delightful. There's a road in Scotland that I don't know what it is. I know it's on the west side of the country. It's basically south of Loch Ness. And it was like driving through the movie Braveheart. Like, it was so beautiful. Such a great road. And I mean, I guess there's another road in Austria near Belzano, Italy. And so there's a big part of, in the Dolomites, there's, it's kind of where I was driving the Concept C, but there's a lot of really good roads. There's an Italian part of Italy where everybody speaks German, looks German, but it's Italy. There's a town, Bolzano, I believe it's pronounced, and there's a road out of there that led kind of back towards Munich that went through these valleys. I don't know the name of the road. It was epic. It's on video. If you watch, boy, you'd have to find the ignition episode. It's like 2014. It's when the R8 V10 switched from a R-tronic to the dual clutch. And I drove one through there, and it was just epically fantastic road. And, then there's like all the stuff in Wales, Betsy Coed area, the Evo Triangle, which is phenomenal. There's so many good roads. I mean, Spain, Portugal, France, Italy, Germany. I went through the Black Forest, the Schwarzwald once, and Schwarzwald, I should say. Incredible roads. So, and as I was corrected again in Germany, mein Deutsch ist schlecht. So there you go. Go Bengals. Who day? Joe Flacco, baby. Yeah, except that you lost to the Packers. You almost won, but you lost. So, but yeah, Flacco's amazing. Flacco looked cool against Aaron Rodgers in the Old Man Bowl, or whatever they called that. So, anyhow, but the Packers, they survived the Cardinals. They're number one in the NFC because they only lost one game. They tied the Cowboys. Crazy. All right. I should also comment, wearing a hoodie, it's going to change, but LA is going through this strange phenomenon now where we literally have winter from like, I don't know, midnight until 7 a.m. And then we have fall from like 7 to 9. It's almost 9. And then summer kicks in. And maybe it's until 10. So it's not hot yet. And then we get full-blown summer where it's like in the 90s, and then it starts to cool off around sundown back to like spring temperatures. It's totally nuts. Late October, and it was so hot yesterday. I took my kid to the park and I was melting. Anyhow, this is from D-Rock 6627. This is not the first time someone told me that Jesus Built My Hot Rod is a Butthole Surfers song. You're right, it's a ministry song. This is a ministry song that features guest vocals from Gibby Haynes, who's the lead singer of the Butthole Surfers. Easy mistake to make. I can't find any records that indicate that Jesus Built My Hot Rod was released on a Butthole Surfers album. It wasn't. Is this another example of the Mandela effect? Loving the channel, keep it up. It's close to the Mandela effect, except that it's Gibby Haynes singing it, so you just think that. There's a song, and I can never remember the name of it, but it's on not Electric Larryland. It's on the other album. Oh man, I can't think of the name of it, but it goes, ever fall in love with a Chevy, ever fall in love with a Ford, ever felt the torque of a Hemi, ever seen the face of the Lord? It's got to be at least 500 inches, cubic inches, that's what I'm talking about. Anyhow, that song is on Independent Worm Saloon, and it's a great song. I know a lot of people never really spent time listening to the Butthole Surfers, one of the greatest bands ever, and they love cars. They talk about cars a lot, which is cool. Close to the Mandela effect. We'll call it the Montego effect or something. I don't know. Trying to think of an M word. Sounds like mandala. Has to do with a car. Mercury Marauder effect. Anyways. All right. PHF Films 3 asks, Johnny, if Volkswagen made more hardcore trims with the Golf R, like they do with the GR Corolla, Core, Maurizio, etc., what would VW they add or change? Well, I don't know if you heard, but the GTI / Golf R was just named 2026 Motor Trend Cars of the Year. And that's cool because those are mid-cycle refreshes. And that means that Volkswagen took everyone's criticism, mine included, of why the Mark 8 Golfs were kind of so, like, not great. And they really improved them. I haven't driven them, but I talked to my friends and colleagues at Motor Trend, and they were just raving about how great these things drive. So I can't wait to get behind the wheel. But a harder core version would, of the Golf R, I mean, there's a rumor that it's going to just have the 5-cylinder engine from the TTRS, and which is just going to be awesome. That will be an all-timer if they do that. So, how do you make a hatchback better, right? You stiffen it, you add better brakes and tires, more power, make the clutch stronger, all that good stuff. So I think the 5-cylinder though is a really good one. Footface gave me $10. Hey, look at that. That was nice. My guy Extra Luso. You got to do a shirt. I should do a shirt. Here's 13 miles worth of California gas. $10. Yeah, that's about right. Very cool. That's very nice of him. Okay, this is from Reciprocity YYC. YYC, I believe, is that Rush song that Primus covered. Anyway, let me start by saying John Entwistle is the best best bassist ever, period. Look, man, you can't mess around with John Entwistle. The guy was rad, righteous, and he played that buzzard bass and he fingers. And he was awesome. What are your thoughts on the RS6 Avant? They look cool and have the ponies, but I hear they aren't reliable. Don't know about reliable. Audis in general have a reputation for not being the most reliable. What I was talking about earlier with Audis is they put the motor in front of the front axle, and they're great up until 8/10, and then they really start to push, and the handling falls apart. So if you are one of us who drives real hard, the RS6 is a bit disappointing when pushed. If you're one of us that drives it to Palm Springs and back on a freeway, it's great. Terrific car. Seats aren't as comfortable maybe as the competition, BMW M5 wagon. Ride quality isn't as good as the competition, BMW M5 wagon, but RS6 is a beautiful car. It's a very good driving car up until about 8/10, and then it falls apart. End scene. Okay, this is from Chichester. And Chichester says, I have a debate with my SoCal friend. If I move to LA, Venice, oh gosh, don't move to Venice. I think it's totally possible to not have a car. Yeah, you'd never leave Venice, but sure. I work from home, and if I lived in Santa Monica, Venice, I can walk to everything, except for friends and other cultural outings. I'd entertain getting a Vespa. Yeah. In the rare moment I need to go somewhere, I can Uber or rent something fun on tour for the weekend. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, I don't know why the hell you'd move to Venice. It's such a there's this pet peeve of mine, and it's like New Yorkers, and I say this as a former New Yorker, and they'll just say something idiotic like, I can never live in LA unless I lived in Venice. And it's like, what the f are you talking about? It's fine, I guess. I don't think I've been to Venice in like 3 or 4 years. And trust me, I live a whole life here in Los Angeles. It's just, yeah. Anyhow, that's my pet peeve. Yeah, look, you can live anywhere without a car. You gotta get used to walking. You're in a massive city. You probably want to take advantage of what the entire city has to offer. We don't have great public transportation. It stops running at terrible hours. You kind of need a car. So it's like, I don't know, moving to LA to not have a car, it's like you can do it. I don't think you'll be that happy. That's just me. But yeah, Vespa, you could run around on a Vespa. You're going to be locked off the freeways. That's, if you want to date someone who lives in the valley, what are you going to do? Turo, Uber? I don't know. You tell me. All right. Hi, Johnny. This is from Green 80, whatever. I daily a 2025 540 Xi in New York City. That's a BMW 540 all-wheel drive, gas-powered thing. I recently drove an X5 and X7 with air ride and was very disappointed. They were definitely very quiet and sporty, but not as plush, cloudy as my 540. Most reviewers focus on the handling rather than the comfort. What car do you recommend that would tackle NYC potholes, traffic construction in the most comfy way possible for under $100K? Dual motor Rivian. Rivian suspension. If you want to know where the money is in the Rivian, besides the pretty big battery, it is the suspension. Not only do you have air springs, but you have hydraulic dampers. Who else uses hydraulic dampers? Citroën, best ride quality in the world. So you want to get the 22-inch wheels. They're going to ride better. Well, that's not fair. The off-road ones have a ride quality to them, but they're chatty. They make noise. That's a good point. I don't know. But tackling potholes, and it sounds like you want an SUV, can't beat Rivian, and the dual motor is great. I would personally get the tri-motor, but that'll push you over 100 grand. But yeah, that's what I would do. Also the Mercedes GLE. Actually, they stopped putting it on hydraulics. It was really good on hydraulics. GLS on hydraulics is going to be the 580. That's going to be over 100 grand. Yeah, I think you're stuck with a Rivian, bro. Audi Q7. Getting long in the tooth, but still a very nice riding vehicle. Actually, the Audi Q8 as well. Q8 e-tron, you can lease those for not a lot of money. So that's what I would do. Also, geez, Cadillac. Boy, the Vistic, you can get a great Vistic loaded up for like 80 some thousand. Lyric is going to be in the 60, a good one. Rides great. Even the Optic, the little baby Optic, rides great, and it's $55,000 proposition, or as much as a Model Y Sport. So yeah, if you need a luxury SUV, those are all quite good. From my view, this is from Fly On Baya. From my view, the outdoor setting sets a serene, relaxing tone. Look how relaxed I am. I'm really sucking down my coffee because I am so tired. I woke up like massive nasal headache, sinus headache at like 3 in the morning, and just ate a bunch of Advil, Tylenol, whatever, and ibuprofen, whatever that is, and just like fell asleep on the couch and didn't wake up right. And I'm like, bleh. I feel very serene. I don't ever hear anything that distracts. Right, these mics are quite effective. I can hear motorcycles racing on the freeway behind me. I live in a bird sanctuary. There's just birds everywhere. It's great. I love my little peaceful slice of Los Angeles here. Okay, great call getting rid of the AI thumbnails. Hey man, I thought it was fun. I'm sorry. I'll never use AI again. Piggly Wiggly Deluxe. Do you have any petty preferences that will keep you out of an otherwise awesome car? Well, probably. For me, I won't have a car with electronic parking brake. Oh, dude. Or pedal-mounted parking brake. What's wrong with a pedal-mounted? What? It has to be a manual grab handle next to the shifter. I won't have it. Yours is beyond petty. You're just limiting yourself from whole classes of vehicles. Petty. I mean, I just don't like CVTs. I can't imagine a CVT that I'd want to buy. The only one ever where I drove it, two, and I thought they were like, the CVT just was muffled enough that it wasn't an issue, was the Nissan Maxima that had a CVT. It actually worked really well. Hats off to Nissan for that. That one was okay. And then the Lexus, the last gen, I don't know if I've driven the current, I think I did drive the current gen Lexus LS, and it probably is a CVT, but no, it's probably not. It's probably an 8-speed. But the LS 600H, which was a big old hybrid limo that Lexus built back, 20 years ago now, around then, maybe like 18 years ago, that had a CVT, and it was seamless. And actually, the third gen Toyota Century had a CVT because it was the same powertrain as the Lexus LS 400H, and you wouldn't know it because, again, in that case, the hybrid assist is taking over. I'm not a big plug-in hybrid person. I don't know if that's petty, but I just don't like them. I don't like when the fundamental character of the vehicle shifts based on mileage, meaning like once the electric battery is drained and you have this usually terrible engine kick on. I don't like that. Like the Toyota Prius Prime is my prime example, in that, you get like however much range. I think it was pretty high, like 70 miles of all electric range, and it's great. And then the most gutless, unappealing Atkinson cycle 2.4 liter inline four kicks on, and it just sucks. The driving experience goes from like yeah to like So I'm trying to think of it's still not as petty as yours, sir. Yours are really petty. So yeah, I'm trying. Oh yeah, the Volkswagen ID4, and I think also the Volvo EX30 do this. 2 window switches for 4 windows. You hear me? 4 windows, 4 switches. 1 switch per window. You guys can swing it. All right. Daniel Harwood. Hey, Johnny. I believe that the Raptor is the best vehicle for crappy, straight, and boring Midwest roads. Do you agree? If not, what would you have for the task? Well, Raptor's very good. I think the TRX, I like the suspension better on the Ram TRX, so there you go. And now I think it's the RNO because the TRX is out of production, although they're probably bringing it back. And then of course, the Rivian is just incredible. We just talked about that, and quicker than both. If you're on a long straight road and you just want to go fast, buy the faster vehicle. Also, Hummer. Hummer is even crazier than all of them. That's a good one. All right, Fly On By also says Johnny Walker. I don't know what that means. All right, without considering power level, this is another one from Fly On By. Suspension type, braking capabilities, or anything else that tends to hide cars' weight. What weight does Johnny consider a sports car heavy? At 2,500, 3,000, 3,500, 4,000, or other pounds? Yeah, it just depends on so many things. You can't just say a weight. I just drove the Corvette ZR1, and video comes out in 2 days. But if you drive that, and that's got to be like 3,900, 4,000 pounds, you don't notice it. You just don't notice it. Like maybe if you're really, really on it in the corner, you're like, oh, it's a little something. But also the tires I had were pretty worn out because Road and Track had used the thing for their Performance Vehicle of the Year testing, and they were pretty eaten up. So, yeah, it just depends. Like, again, back to the Rivian. I know I sound like a broken record, but that's 7,000 pounds. You'd never know it in day-to-day driving. You would have no idea it weighs that because it has the power to cover it. Cars tend to feel heavy when when the weight affects something. When the weight doesn't affect anything, they don't feel heavy. So, like again, when you back to that BMW M5, plug-in hybrid thing, it's heavy. It's like 5,400 pounds, but you don't feel the weight. In fact, when you drive it next to the 4,800 pound Audi RS6 Avant, the BMW drives more sportingly. It feels more nimble, feels more agile. It's, it feels like more of an athlete. If you didn't know any better and drove them both really hard, and then somebody asked you which was heavier, you would say the Audi based on how it drives. So now you have to do a lot of things to compensate for all that weight. So that's where the weight starts to come into play, and you lose efficiency and things like that. But I can't just say like this number good, that number bad. That said, I'll leave you with that Auto Union Typ C. 520 horsepower from the 6-liter supercharged V16, and it weighed 1,650 pounds. They were said to be undrivable for the most part, except for Bernd Rosemeyer, for some reason could handle it. But you're basically like, your ankles are on the front axle, and you have 520 horsepower, like basically taking up the 2/3 of the vehicle behind you. And you'll see pictures of it where it actually had 4 rear tires. They put like a dually on the rear wheels, or wheels being 4 of them, just for traction purposes. Because you can imagine what 520 horsepower does to 1,650 pounds. Anyhow, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. Like I said, we are eventually going to split it off onto its own Talking with Jonny channel. For now, it stays on Driving with Jonny. I need to just figure out how to do all that. I will, I promise. Let's see. Yeah, so there's a Maybach video up right now. If you haven't watched it, go ahead and watch it. It's pretty good. It's the 680 SL monogram edition. And we got the Corvette ZR1 in 2 days. Please, if you have any questions for next week, drop them down below. I will answer them. If you want to tell me something, drop it down below. I'll read that too. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. It really does help. And we will catch you on the next episode of Talking with Jonny.